Hi, good morning, everyone. All right, so we have started with concept of relationship queries, and what we are understanding is like we wanted to fetch the data, particularly from multiple objects, but condition over here is that those objects should be in relationship. There must be certain form of relationship. Now it could be either a lookup relationship or the detail. But then if you are trying to apply a relationship query, first and the foremost condition is there must be a relationship. Now, when we are applying a relationship query, there are two different forms of it. Either you wanted to fetch the details of a parent record along with child. That means parent, child. The second possible direction could be we are trying to traverse the record from bottom to top. That means we are trying first to get the detail of child record, and along with that child record, we also wanted to fetch the data related to that parent. So in this case, there would be another form of the query is going to be getting used. Now we have started with the first direction, parent to child, top to bottom. Getting the details of parent along with child, all the associated childs. So when you are traversing, when you are fetching the data from parent to child, then this can be done by using inner queries, sub queries, or child queries. How we write down this inner query, the sub query or child query, the way is you typically insert one query or more than one query inside another query. So if I would consider that what we did in the past, this was my main query, the parent query, where I have designed the query on account object, on account. Now inside in this main query, we have written some other queries as well. As you can see, select. Every SQL as always starts with select. So we can see that inside in the major query, inside in the parent query, inside in the main query, I have inserted few other queries as well. We have inserted like one query to get all the related contacts, another query to get all the related opportunities and similar cases as well. So this type of query, when you write a query inside in another query, first of all, that query is called as inner query, child. That type of query is always called as inner query or a child query. Right? So whatever is required for that, how to write this, that everything we already have seen. We have seen this in the last session. So last session when I was designing this query, we have taken in consideration the standard object. That means the child object was standard. If I would consider contact, the object contact, the object opportunity, or else the object case, all of them are standard. So when your child is a standard object, how to write down the relationship query, how to write down the sub query, that we already have discussed, in the last lecture. Now let me take this discussion a little ahead and let's try to understand the second form of it. Direction would be still same. We are again traversing from parent to child, but this time But this time, child objects, they would be, they would be your custom, they would be your custom object. Let me try to draw something before I could start writing that query. Let me elaborate one more thing. Hold on. Just give me a second. Let me attach the mouse. Draw something the mouse pad does not. Just give me a second so that I can attach mouse. See, just a second. Yes. See, when I'm saying that, we are going with the second form, parent to child, but in a custom relationship. But in a custom relationship. Or previous to that, we have studied parent to child, but in a standard relationship. So this standard and the custom, we are always talking about child object. Our direction of traversing in this case is like we are fetching parent along with child. We are fetching parent along with child. In both of the cases, this is our direction of getting records from top to bottom. You are fetching the data from top to bottom. You are fetching the data from top. That means you are trying to get the records of parents, like you have fetched account. With that account, how many contacts, right? Maybe I could say that this is account. How many contacts, how many opportunities, or maybe how many cases. That everything you have. But when we talk about the child, if I would ask you this segment, what I have highlighted is the group of child objects, child records. They are in first case, in the yesterday session, what we have studied, all of them, like contact or maybe the opportunity or maybe the cases, they are standard object. So what we have studied was like parent to child, but with the standard relationship, with the standard. Now I'm trying to make you aware about what happens if your child object is a custom object. So if these objects, if this segment of child is a custom object, then how to fetch them? But what to understand before we go further, why I'm drawing this diagram, I wanted every one of you to understand. I am not talking about parent, not talking about. In both of the cases, I am just trying to highlight you what is the type of child object. If the child object is a standard, like previously we have studied that, and what if the child object is a custom? But see, in both of the cases, we are not talking about parent. Parent could be a custom object. Parent could also be a standard object, right? We are not talking about parent. This query, the inner query, does not have anything in difference if the parent object is a standard or a custom. All right. So it's not really necessary to see what is a parent object. Parent could be a standard, parent could be a custom. All right. The more important part to hear what makes a difference between writing a query is actually if the child is standard or if the child is custom. If the child is standard or if the child is custom. That actually makes a difference. So we should concentrate more on this. Rather, what is a parent? Parent could be standard one. Parent would also be the custom. Right. So see, with this first example I have taken, parent object was account, and we have fetched along with account, we have fetched like the details of related contacts, details of related opportunities, and details of related cases. We have fetched all these three entities along with the account. Now, I'm going with the second case. That means I'm going with, I'm going with the second case where I wanted to fetch along with the parent. I wanted to fetch the details of maybe child 1 or child 2 or child 3. That goes, but that depends with the object how many childs are being associated. But importantly, these child were being a custom object. About the parent, parent could be a standard, parent could also be a custom. All right. So don't bother about what is the type of parent object. That doesn't make any difference. That wouldn't make any difference in writing the query. You have to see what is the type of child object. That would certainly make a difference. All right, let's understand. So, if your child is a custom object and your direction of fetching is parent to child, that means you are trying to fetch parent along with the child, but the child is a custom object. So how you are going to write down that query, let me now try to show. I'm not sure whether Salesforce Inspector works for this or not. I will try it. Let me try to design a query. We know that like hiring manager is the parent, and how many custom objects do we have created? We have created position, hiring manager, and candidates. We have created all of them. Okay. 1 second. Just give me. Okay. So we have all these custom objects we have created. For hiring manager, position is the child. For position, candidate is the child. Not sure about these. This we have created for, I guess, one-to-one relationship. Anyways, I would be fetching the details of hiring manager along with positions. So, right, hiring managers along with the positions. So, let me try to fetch. So, let me try to design a query on hiring manager. Select from hiring manager. Select from the hiring manager. Yes. And let me try to get the fields of hiring manager quickly from this. So select ID, then give me the details of name. What else is there? Contact number. Let's expand it out. Created by, I don't want it. Created by ID. I don't want it. Date as well. HR email ID. HR ID, I don't want it. Is deleted, is not last modified. No. Name I have taken owner, position count. I don't require that. That would automatically be getting fetched. Position count. Senior HR. Why senior HR? Do we have created a field for senior HR? I don't know why, but we have created senior HR. I'm not sure why we have created. Maybe that I was trying to explain you something that I have created, but one-to-one relationship, I guess. Yeah. One-to-one relationship or hierarchy. Maybe that was, I'm not sure, but I have created a relationship because this seems to be a relationship field, which is trying to relate one HR with another HR. and both records belongs to the same object. So I was trying to show you the hierarchy. That's why I have created that. But we are not going to fetch it over here. So ID, name, contact number, email ID. I guess there is location or something. HR location. There is something called as location. Yes. And that's it. That's it. So if I would fetch it out, so it has given me 761 records. Let me try to limit them. Limit, let's say 100. Now it has given me 100 random records. And now, see, now I would split this query. I mean, this is hiring manager. Now, along with this hiring manager, I also wanted to fetch the details of related position. I mean, all right, the position is a child. So how would you do that? We know like how we can write down a relation, inner query. Come to from, split it out, right? Split it out and try to expand this a little bit. That would make it more readable. And let me try to zoom it out a little bit. Control. What? Okay. Now go to the last field. Go to the last field over here. Just put up a comma, space, and you can now write down your relationship query, right? So I would be fetching like select from position, select from position. Now let me write out what we wanted to fetch from there. Let's say ID, and let's say contact number. Oh, name as well, of course, name of the position, then contact number. Name. I should be this contact. Don't think this is getting from position. No, it's not getting position. Skip here. Position have contact? No. Yes, it is having. Sometimes I may confuse myself. Okay. Ah, this is popping up from the position. Okay. So I'll fetch contact number, created HR email ID. Let me try to get that as well. HR ID, I'm not going to fetch. Location, all right. I'll fetch that as well. Position count, right? Senior HR, everything. This is not coming from position. I don't think so. I don't think so. What happens if that happens? Just give me a. I'll do one thing. I'll just try to design another position. Let's do it like this. Select from position, right? Now here, everything, yeah, now it has refreshed its metadata and these are the fields of position. So I would get like ID, I'll get like name, I'll get like candidate count, contact number. But this is something coming from position. It was not. That's why I was saying immediate joiners. You can have that as well. Is there anything out of interest? I get this email ID, contact number, location. Okay, location as well. Let me have minimum budget, maximum budget, milestone date, number of the vacancies, open date, passport requires position. You can have literally have anything, you know. Now this is that query. This is that query. See, if I would export this This everything would come, right? This everything would come, right? This everything. Now see, if you would see this query, you would see this query. Whenever we give the name of any custom object, the custom object API names are always appended with underscore underscore C. Whether that, I mean, if it's a custom entity, now that could be a name of an object. It could also be the name of a field. It could also be the name of a field. Like all these are the fields. See, name is not a custom field. ID is not a custom. These two are the standard fields. But if we would see this contact number, candidate count, number of vacancies, they are your custom fields. So every custom entity inside Salesforce, every custom entity inside Salesforce, that could be the name of object. It could even be the name of a field. So every custom entity is always, whenever the API name is getting created for that, there is a rule in Salesforce that it would always going to be appended with underscore underscore C. Now that could be the name of custom field, or else it could also be the name of a custom object, right? So this is my query. This is, by the way, is my query to get the details from the position object, right? This is that query. Now see, I just would be copying this query and I'll put it inside of here, right? I'll put it inside of here. So you know one thing, that this bracket I have inserted to write down my inner query. So I have copied that query and I'm pasting it out over. I'm pasting it out. And let's see what happens if I would try to export that details. So yeah, Salesforce Inspector also supports this. That's very good. Now, as you can see, it has given me an error, although everything is good, right? The name of the fields, name of the objects and everything. Because everything is good over it. But then, do you see something called as underscore underscore R? Do you see this underscore underscore R? That is what is an error. That is what is an error. Now listen this very carefully. This is a rule that you have to understand. And this has been written in the notes, right? It's there in the notes. It is there in the notes. You can definitely read it from there as well. So whenever you are referring inside in your inner query, I'm talking about inner queries, right? I'm talking about the inner queries. So inside in inner query, when you are referring to a custom object, although when it's inside your major query, see, this is a major query, a custom entity's object name, they're always being referred with underscore underscore C, right? And this perfectly work over here because we can see the outcome of that query. Now the same query, when I put it inside as an inner query, it's not working. Why it's not working? Because now you are referring this query as a sub query, as an inner query. So when you are using, any such query where the child name is a custom object, you cannot put underscore underscore C. Now that underscore underscore C must be replaced with underscore underscore R. This is the only rule that you have to understand. This is the only rule that you have to understand. There's nothing else apart from this which makes a difference. Now let's try to export this. Yeah, there's one more thing. Child name must always be in a plural form, isn't it? Yesterday we have seen that. The child name must always be in the plural form. So I have to use underscore underscore R. I'll also have to use the plural form of that. The plural form is positions, right? So I would just put up an S over here. Positions underscore underscore R. See. So this is the outcome. Right? So basically, see, this is an HR record, Manish Singh, the contact number, everything. Now it comes like, how many positions are being associated with it? There are two positions that we try to get. They don't have any such record. All right. There are one position. There's only one position, senior account manager. There are two candidates, everything like, related to that, what we have asked inside the query, candidate count, contact numbers and everything. So they are just being listed out. That's it. So this is like we can make a use of child object inside inner query, particularly when it's a custom. So there are only two things. First of all, the child object. Just give me a moment. All right. So there are two things that you should remember. The first, which is a general rule, and we have already seen even in the past form, that inside in the inner query, the name of the child object must always be in a plural form. So even that, see, this is common. I mean, this we already have studied. Like when it was contact, we have written contacts. For opportunity, we have written opportunities. And for the case, we have written cases. All right. So child name must always be in a plural form. That's a common rule. What newly has been added is if your child is a custom object, although the custom objects, they are always referred along with __ C. But the problem is when you are writing this as a subquery, you cannot write down __ C. That must be replaced with __ R. That must be replaced with __ R. Understood? So that is what is a difference over here, right? So that was the second topic. If you are, I mean, now I guess you have to go with this program where we are fetching the details of hiring manager along with the associated positions, right? So go with this program. Go with this program. Query part I have explained you. Query part already I have explained, and because with the previous example I already have taken a program. So this is something which is going to be an assignment for you. You would write down this query and construct this program so that we could fetch out the details of hiring manager along with all of the positions that are associated with. But I guess you're always going to get one, because if you remember this or not, but we have implemented a rule, I guess one-to-one relationship. We have implemented a rule where one hiring manager is always going to be get associated with one position only. I guess we have implemented one-to-one relationship. Let me try to see this. Do we have any validation rules in place? Salesforce Inspector, the second one. I think while I was explaining you one-to-one relationship, I have created something on hiring manager and position. Let me just try to verify this once. And that could be a reason why, why we are seeing position count as 1. Yes, restricted position count. So there's a validation rule, and there must be a roll-up summary as well. Because one-to-one relationship, when we are creating, there are two components by which we have created. We'll have to create that. The first is you'll have to create a validation rule, and the second is a roll-up summary. So there's a rule in place that would restrict one hiring manager not to have multiple positions. But anyway, that is not make any difference in our case. Even though if every hiring manager is associated with one position, that doesn't make any differences over here. You can definitely write down this program. So go with this. And in next session, I'm going to start with the second form of relationship query when we try to traverse from child to parent, when we try to get the details of child record first, and then we also fetch the details of all the associated parents with that. Now, can I ask you one question over here? In case of a lookup relationship, how many, if for example, if object one is a child, if object one is a child, how many parents this object one could have in case of a lookup relationship? Yes, yes. In case of a lookup relationship, if there is an object that is child object, tell me how many parents this object could have. Yes. Anyone? Anyone? Hmm. If an object is a child object, in case of a lookup relationship, an object can be associated with how many parents? All right. The answer is 40, 40. An object could be associated with 40 parents. These are some of the governor limits that we have studied. And in case of a master detail, an object could be associated with only 2 parents. I have asked you to make the differences between lookup and master detail relationship. So there was this point. I don't know whether you have created whether you are studying this or not, but that was a point of difference. In case of a lookup relationship, object could be associated with 40 parents, 4040. But in case of a master detail, it could only be associated with 2 parents, not more than that. Right? So in the next session, we are going to traverse from bottom to top when we would fetch a child record, and we'll also fetch all of the associated parents with that child. Any questions onto this? Yes, do you wanted to ask anybody wanted to ask anything? Any questions? Yes, any questions? All right then. Thank you so much for joining. Have a nice day.